Hey everybody, Kellen Nitro from Nitromaniac TV's a wrestling channel. Joining me again on the line with video this time, it's Moorhouse.
Howdy, howdy.
How's it going? Okay, so you approached me a few days ago with this idea. I'm going to let you explain this to our viewers and listeners here. What is this?
Well, every year during January is award season to look back on last year's wrestling and wrestling quality matches, pay-per-views, wrestlers, just judge them and just give them little ego boosts to say. So I thought, well, Meltzer does his and PWI does theirs. Why don't I use the Meltzer list and rank them based on what I personally judge to fit in each category?
So Moorhouse made a list?
Moorhouse made a list.
All right.
The list of Moorhouse.
So, and you were, and thanks again for sending me a copy of this. We have gone through and we've done this just kind of wrestling centric because I know that Meltzer's best of kind of includes MMA as well. But we're, for the purpose of this video, ignoring the MMA aspect of the Observer Awards, but we are kind of just focusing on the wrestling ones for 2017. So, I guess the debate will begin once we have something that's kind of disagrees with each other, and we can banter back and forth. All I have to ask you, Moorhouse, is how do you want to read this? Do you want to go 1, 2, 3, 4, or do you want to start from the bottom and work our way back up?
When you go to the Oscars, they don't say this is a best picture, and now we're going to have the best foreign film.
Okay. So
I think we should go backwards
first.
Up.
Okay, so we do foreign film first and then up. Okay.
Exactly, because you don't want to bury the lead.
Well, people are going to get buried here. Okay. All right. So, I guess this is the Nitromaniac TV interpretation of the 2017 Wrestling Observer Awards. How's that?
That sounds perfect.
Okay, cool. All right. First category, Best Pro Wrestling DVD/streaming documentary. We all know that there's a lot of streaming content now with wrestling as well, so I guess Dave has decided to kind of, I guess, work that into the whole thing, because people are moving away from Blu-rays, DVDs. It's just a media shift that happens every 20 or 30 years. So, go ahead with your choice first, and then I will say mine.
I'm going with Fight Owens Fight, the Kevin Owens story.
Okay, and how come?
It's just a really good look behind the scenes of Kevin Owens' career, what he goes through day to day. He's had a very interesting life, coming from Quebec, working his way through Ring of Honor, fighting with creative there, and finally getting an opportunity with WWE and fighting with there, because Kevin Owens does not have a wrestler body. He has, he's a bigger guy, but he can move like a luchador at times.
Right. Cool. All right. I had that choice on until about 15 minutes ago when we were trying to get everything set up. I've changed that choice on my list. The 2017 Best Pro Wrestling DVD/streaming documentary I'm going to give is the Royal Rumble anthology disc that came out at the beginning of last year, just prior to the 2017 Royal Rumble. Just due to the fact that it's shot the same way as the True Story of WrestleMania. And in fact, I believe that's the name of it, the True Story of the Royal Rumble. And I always like the Rumble. It's one of my favorite pay-per-views of the year. And so, in watchability, that's it. The True Story of the Royal Rumble, free disc set. That's what you got right there. And I own the Blu-ray, and it's kind of cool because the Blu-ray has a couple of extra matches from a couple of the pay-per-views from the 90s on there. And it's a great story. It follows Pat Patterson the day of the 2016 Royal Rumble. It follows AJ Styles around when he was making that big debut and that stuff. I just think it is a solid production.
Okay. I was underwhelmed by it myself.
Okay.
The matches were great. Like, it has one of my favorite Rumbles on it, which is the 94 one, which
Right.
I absolutely love, and the 2001 one. But I thought the documentary was a little weak. The only thing it really told me is the origin of Royal Rumble name, which I'm like, okay, that makes sense. But it didn't really say anything I didn't already know.
Right. Okay. Well, agree to disagree there, I guess.
That's why we need conflict.
Exactly. For sure. So, all right. Next category is Best Pro Wrestling Book. And to tell you the truth, I didn't change anything from the ballot you sent me. So, but this is the reason why. I met Justin Roberts at WrestleCon last year in Orlando and bought a copy that he autographed for me of Best Seat in the House.
Nice.
And there is no other book that I read over the 2017 year that was wrestling related that was as good. It is a great story from front to back. The full gambit of when he was starting out in Chicago, being a fan, influences, everything to the very end of it. It's a book that I couldn't put down, and I think it was one of the first books that I actually, immediately after I stopped reading it or finished reading it, I went back the next night and started it again. And not very many books do that, so it's like a good movie.
I agree 100%. It's also nice you get to write your own book without being edited by the organization you're working for, like a lot of other books come out.
Right. So we are in agreement that the best pro wrestling book for 2017 was Best Seat in Your House, the Justin Roberts autobiography.
Yep, agreed.
Worst gimmick is the next category. Worst gimmick of 2017. And you and I will disagree here, but we're probably not going to banter with the disagreements. We're probably just going to nod and say, yeah, you're probably right. It belongs up there. So, as always, Moorhouse, give your selection first, and I will give mine.
I was not a fan at all of the Dolph Ziggler no gimmick. I want to impersonate gimmick, which he did random entrances every week for like a month. With just like, this is what you guys like, and he'll do a Warrior thing, and maybe this is what you guys like, and he'll do an AJ Styles entrance, and he's like, I don't care what you guys like, and then he'll do it again next week.
So this was SmackDown Live, I want to say September, October-ish of last year, when This was really a big thing, that it still kind of carries on to today, where they play the first 30 seconds of his theme, and then there's that horrible record scratch effect, everything goes black, and he just walks out. I have long said that if you wanted to get that gimmick over, don't have him walk out to any music at all. Just dim the house lights and let him walk out with a single spotlight.
Kind of like Bam Bam Bigelow back in '99.
Yeah, exactly. And to tell you the truth, that gimmick, he's got so many other heel gimmicks he could fall back on. It's sort of just it's a throwaway for him to really, focus on that as, okay, that's his heel gimmick. He's got the Hollywood heel persona. Maybe jazz that up with a little bit of, hair metal influence, which I know is an influence in his character as it is, but just say, okay, go full out. If you want to incorporate, some glam rock stuff like the lipstick and the face paint like a Motley Crue or something, go for it. I mean, it's sad because Dolph is one of those guys that a couple of years ago he had the big thing with Miz and everybody was convinced this was it. And the fact that they carried on with his career, and I guess he signed an extension on his contract or a new contract. I'm not sure which is which, but it just. And now this is where he is on SmackDown Live, currently the vacated U.S. champion, but he's going to come back probably with the belt, with the storyline to take on whoever the U.S. champion is after Rumble. So, hooray, you get a Mania match out of it potentially, but it's weak sauce. It's very weak sauce.
Yeah. We don't know what his plans are after WrestleMania, because I believe he's hinted at not renegotiating now.
Yeah. All right. That is not my worst gimmick of the year.
What's worse?
My worst gimmick, and people are going to beat up on me because it is an NXT gimmick.
Oh.
But the Ely twins in NXT, they are two huge hulking dudes that rhythmically walk to the ring in simpatico, and then they get into the ring in simpatico, and they do the same taunt in simpatico. It doesn't work when you are the jobber team getting beat up by the Authors of Pain and Sanity and, any other tag team combination they seem to be paired with. I know TM61's coming back, so maybe they're next on the Ely's.
TM61, you got the War Machine on the way too now. So.
Yes, exactly. They'll really smash them. I hope they come up with something else for those guys. I know it's developmental, and they probably will, but as it stands right now, that's just... It's bland.
It kind of reminds me of the old wrestling games when you come out as a tag team and you're just like robotic and you just slide in together and then you're just...
They're both the default creator wrestler in SmackDown versus Raw.
Yeah.
PlayStation 2, exactly. It's like default skins, default tights. No, well, they have music, but it's just, their movie is bland. It looks like something that, somebody came up with in After Effects for, a 30-second loop or something, with just their name, the Ely brothers.
Should be more geneticos.
Give them something more. I mean, these are two pumped up dudes. Vince digs the pumped up dudes. I'm sure he can come up with something with these guys, and I'm sure they will. But that's the worst gimmick of 2017. Every time I was watching NXT, I had to walk away. And when they came on, just because it was just a real stupid gimmick, just really dumb. You have all these great gimmicks on that show, and all these great gimmicks that were coming up through, and then you have those two poor schlubs walk into the ring, just kind of meh. So. Now, best gimmick of the year. Now, I can't remember if I changed mine from yours or not, so I'm going to let you go ahead with yours, and then I'll comment with mine.
Well, mine was a photo finish, because I like two gimmicks a lot this year, but I'm going to go with the guy who makes piano orchestras awesome, and that's Bobby Roode. Probably
one of the top 5 best entrance music tracks in WWE, and the fact that so many sports teams have adopted that as walkout music for games and everything like that tells you. The Predators in Nashville are one, and then I think there's like football teams, NFL teams, MLS soccer teams, stuff like that. I think even there was like an English Premier League game or something like that this year that somebody started the glorious chant in stadium, and the entire stadium was doing it.
I think United does it. Yeah.
I can't remember just because I don't follow EPL, but I saw the highlight on SportsCenter or something like that. I was like, "Whoa, that's pretty cool."
Yeah, the problem here is it was a close, because after his glorious entrance and his beautiful robes and stuff, he doesn't really have much of character, and that's why he barely beat the Velveteen Dream, in my opinion.
Yeah, the Velveteen Dream's pretty good. I mean, the thing is, I didn't think it would be timely with Prince's death and that stuff, but the thing is, he's kind of making it his own, which is kind of cool. So, and it's a throwback gimmick. People dig that type of stuff, right? I mean, like if somebody came out with like a King of Pop type gimmick, like I know Nakamura kind of does it, but just full on, Jackson ripoff. I think that would probably pop the fans as well, just because there's a lot of Michael Jackson fans that are into the wrestling game as well. So,
exactly.
My pick for best gimmick, just due to the initial reaction and that stuff of the crowd live Mania weekend in Orlando, and that clicked all the boxes. I think with just the entrances that he's had for the year and that stuff at the takeovers and everything. Aleister Black.
Ah, yes.
Yes. I think that gimmick, here's Tommy End coming in from Progress and from the UK scene and everything like that. And they didn't mess with the character one bit. They just said, okay, here's your name. You're going to be kind of a pacifist, passive-aggressive character when it comes to cutting promos and that stuff. You're going to sit down, you're going to meditate prior to the match, and then it's going to be like you flip a switch and you go, I dig that. That's such a cool vibe. And that entrance is just boss. It's A1. The music is a perfect selection. That's how you do it. That's how the NXT system works right there. All in one is that Aleister Black thing. So much so that within what was it, 3 weeks of his first match in NXT, he was already working shows on the WWE B show on Main Event and that stuff after SmackDown tapings and everything. So, or before, I should say, but
no, it's a really cool gimmick. It reminds me a lot of an evolved version of Gangrel.
It is, eh? Yeah, it fits right in. So
yeah.
So, all right, there we go. So, 2 great choices for best gimmick there. And also 2 great choices for worst gimmick of the year as well. So, there we go. All right, next
Yin
one.
and yang.
Yeah, next one on our list. And we should also mention here that they have split it as or you have it split as an A pool and a B pool with these. So I guess there would be just, the B would be like the supporting awards and the A would be the main awards, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, okay. Promoter of the year. I didn't change this one at all, so it is the same as yours.
So you got the wrong name on it, though.
Okay, go ahead.
So the promoter of the year this year, we're giving it to New Japan Pro Wrestling's president, Kachiko Harada.
Okay. Well, that's a no-brainer. This is all, when you booked the six-star classic in January and then all the whole Okada Omega program, that's that right there is going to be a storyline people are talking about out of 2017. Better than anything WWE produced, better than anything Ring of Honor did this year, certainly better than anything Impact did this year. So it's such a strong program over there. That's just we've talked about its influence enough on this channel in the past. So, for those who want to see us talk about it or speak about it, check out the year in review and check out everything prior to, because the New Japan Pro Wrestling brand, it's here to stay. It's well established.
And I give 2017 one of their best years because they've started to cut open the North America market too.
Exactly, for sure. All right. Best Booker. Tell me, Booker man, who is the best Booker?
Kevin Nash, WCW 99. I kid.
Who booked this? I did.
Again, New Japan with Gato.
Yeah. He's, again, just... He said something here, I want to say on Jim Cornette mentioned it on his podcast, I want to say about a couple of weeks ago or so, that kind of opens the light on Gato's booking methods and that stuff and what his influences are. He spoke about being a huge fan of the imported NWA shows that Japan would get that would run on all the sports networks over there in the 80s, and what that show was kind of like a best of Mid-South, Crockett. I don't think World Class was in there, but St. Louis was in there. All the good old school territories, with all the good old school wrestlers on it. And he also mentioned in the past being a fan of Stampede as well, because of the association in the past with Chris Jericho, Lance Storm, etc. Blah 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 blah. Right, so. They got arguably right now the hot hand in the world when it comes to putting matches together and programs together. Hopefully the momentum can continue. I think that by bringing in Chris Jericho, it will. and yeah, we just sit back and see what's next out of those guys, because it's a very interesting program. It's they're number 2 with a bullet. It's going to take a lot of work to become number 1, but they are clearly the alternative for fans right now.
For me, I was talking earlier on Twitter here with some guy, bantering, but what I determined is WWE is the best for wrestling entertainment. New Japan is the best for wrestling.
I love that. Love that quote. Yeah, it makes sense. Absolutely. All right. We got the next line of questions here is kind of the worst. So we're expanding on the worst of the year. Worst promotion of the year. Moorhouse, go.
I'm voting Impact Wrestling, formerly known as Global Force Wrestling, formerly known as Impact Wrestling, formerly known as Total Nonstop Action Wrestling.
I am voting Impact Wrestling, formerly GFW, formerly Impact, formerly TNA. This is not meant to be a slag against Impact Wrestling. It's just, man, how many different directions can you take with a company within a year? They were going gangbusters at Slammiversary. I loved with what they were doing by bringing in GFW as the new name and dropping the TNA moniker because of all the stuff behind it and everything. They needed a fresh kickstart. They got that at Slammiversary. Slammiversary was a good show, damn it. And then you fast forward a few months and you sit down and you watch Bound for Glory and you want to cry. Because it's so bad. It was terrible. It was the worst pay-per-view of the year, but we'll get to that a little later on. So,
the good news, I think they might be hit. I think they've hit rock bottom, so I think it's going to be a better year for
I
Impact
can't think of anything farther down than what they're at right now. I really can't.
Don Callis is the new head booker, so that could be interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Scott D'Amore is now the new promoter, so it's gone very Canadian now, but I think they'll rise up. I think they've hit rock bottom last year with the 4 name changes and ownership changes, but I think 2018 will be a better year. I don't know if they'll be worse promotion again.
Well, we knew that it was going to be better, or we knew that it's going to be, not better, but a little bit more than rock bottom, I guess. Than it's like just my brain's melted just trying to think about it. Again, all this stuff, you take all of your spring time to set up this deal, to bring Jeff Jarrett's group in, to finally link Global Force and TNA together. You ask Jeff to give the usage of the name and that stuff. He agrees. He brings in his belts. So they can finally, it seems like, merge the companies. They put together a heck of a Slammiversary pay-per-view. Like, I mean, that was probably one of the better produced shows that wasn't WWE of the year. That, set up all this stuff, solid matches, great pacing to the card. Kind of a tribute to everything from Abyss from Joseph Park / Abyss and Borash versus Matthews, and I can't remember who else was in that match, but it was just a comedy goldmine where they revisited kind of the thing that was fresh in everybody's mind as being the hot TNA thing, which was the total nonstop deletion stuff. But so that show, and then you have El Patron come in, who was a controversial figure, but you're using that controversy for good, and then everything blows up right after. These aren't shots they're taking, these are bazooka hits, and then they stumble into Bound for Glory and they give us 3 hours of junk. And so
main event for the WrestleMania was a smosh.
And it's not my pick for worst match of the year. It's not. We'll get a little later on. There's worse ones, but all right. Worst feud of the year. I think we agree on this one. Randy Orton versus Bray Wyatt.
The feud that everyone knew he was going to turn on. the
one that made me question why there is arson. Again, video on the channel. Go check it out. Again, another that's the feud that made me question, why are they using projectors in the ring?
You were there for that, dude.
Oh, it was just, you know how you get sometimes when people just you know how negative heat gets sometimes, right? Where something happens in the ring and everybody just stands there just kind of comatose, like, and no reaction, right? Like, there's none. That's what happened when the first projector hit during there was a little bit of a whoa like that. By the time the third or fourth projection during that match was, everyone's just like, okay, it's concession time at that point. So
it's worms. It's worms. Oh, it's cockroaches. It's cockroaches.
My God, King, cockroaches.
Bray Wyatt has the power to summon projectors.
Okay. Yeah. No. No. Okay. Yes, here we go. Worst match of the year. I'm going to go ahead and say mine, and this will blow your mind because it is not the Bound for Glory 17 main event, but it does come from the Bound for Glory card in 2017. Lashley and King Mo with American Top Team and Dan Lambert versus Moose and Stephan Bonner. This was a 6 sides of steel, supposedly tag team match. It ended up being one MMA gym attempting to out-wrestle another in a cage. It was, and MMA guys taking Mr. Perfect-esque type bumps into the cage. They were flipping, they were flopping, they were flying. It was fucked. It was very bad. That to me, and that was the semi-main of Bound for Glory. I lost complete interest in the show right after. I just was praying for the 3-hour mark at the end of it to hit, just so I could say, okay, done, watched it.
I think that's Bonner's first professional match, too.
The thing is, too, is that hasn't Stephan Bonner been kind of, if not retired, semi-retired from the MMA scene for a while?
He went to Bellator for a bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, he has a losing record. He's not really relevant anymore.
Yeah, dude. If he's fighting, age is starting to come up or be a factor, and I think it showed in that match where, okay, dude's in phenomenal shape, but he just looked old. So.
Yeah, I think his last match was against Tito Ortiz, and they're both hitting 50. So.
Tito Ortiz is still fighting? Oh my God.
Yeah, he's still fighting.
Oh man. So that's my pick for worst match of the year. I can't really think of anything beyond that. So go ahead with your choice.
I don't know. It was Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt house battle worse than that?
See, I thought about that, and I was like, well, at least the redeeming quality out of that one is, okay, it brought, a little bit of closure to the story, because we didn't see them, wrestle against each other after that because Bray was on his way over to Raw.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the one redeeming quality, whereas it's a mixed tag. I'll call it what it is. It's a mixed tag. The mixed tag from Bound for Glory 17 with Lashley, King Mo, Bonner, and Moose. It had no redeeming qualities to it whatsoever. It just is, MMA fans, come watch Impact, because we got MMA guys doing wrestling things.
Yeah, but any MMA fan's going to be like, well, dude, it's scripted.
Exactly. So that's the thing, is that was Orton and Wyatt that House of Horrors thing, that was Payback, right? I think it was Payback.
Yeah, and that was just before the draft lottery.
Yeah. So what was it the worst WWE match of the year? Beyond a shadow of a doubt, yes.
Yeah.
Was it the worst pro wrestling match amongst all of the, I guess, top 5 main promotions of the year?
Probably not.
It wasn't.
No.
Because I just named off a strong contender for one. And, if you want to throw the main event from Bound for Glory 17 in there as well, go right ahead. Because, yeah, the Impact Jeez, the Impact Eli Drake thing, and then with Del Rio running in and just schmozzing it, and not, yeah, no, thank you. Biggest show of the year, and it ends in the schmoz, like you said earlier. Just
Can you imagine WrestleMania ending in a schmoz?
oh, the fans would riot.
Yeah.
The little souvenir chairs they give everybody that you get when you buy the travel packages and that stuff, they would be being tossed into the ring, Terry Funk style. These things are heavy too. Like I mean, like they're a real pain in the butt to bring back on the airplane. They got some weight to them. So
Security probably also looks at you funny.
oh yeah. Well, security already looks at me funny when I go through an airport anyway. But it's different. So, all right, worst television show of the year. Is there any debate? Impact Wrestling.
Oh. Yes. I kind of block Impact Wrestling out of my mind, so I haven't really watched it in a long time.
I've gone to the point where, I had a watch, don't watch type relationship with Impact Wrestling. Now I'm at a point where I haven't watched since, maybe this or the beginning of December, and I've cleared it off my PVR entirely. Like, I mean, they just, man, they're giving their best, but God, it's unwatchable. It is very unwatchable.
Well, yeah, no, I totally forgot. I originally picked Raw, but I may have to side with you. The reason I put Raw in is they need to reduce the hours on that show. 3 hours, it's basically a pay-per-view every week.
Right.
And it's an endurance to get through, and there's a lot of, we don't know how to write TV, so here's a weird skit.
Exactly. So, all right, most disgusting promotional tactic of the year. I think I went into great detail on the year in review about this. It was one of the worst things in 2017, and we had just talked about it, so I'll just make it quick. Randy Orton arson.
Randy Orton arson, okay.
For somebody watching the show who has lost or who may have lost a house or property due to somebody setting fire to it, very unwatchable TV, and enough to make you not want to watch wrestling anymore. Not good.
But he's a baby face.
Not in that program, he wasn't.
Arson's cool. Let's cheer arsonists.
The words and views expressed by Moorhouse do not necessarily reflect on Nitromaniac TV and its partners and or subsidiaries.
I guess it can't run for prime minister anytime soon.
But no, bad, very bad. Worse.
But is it worse than hostaging a world title to promote a Canadian wrestler to tour India?
So you're referring to Jinder Mahal and the title reign?
Yes. I did start to get over on him like 5 months in, finally a little bit, but every match he had was a schmoz finish on his pay-per-views. Yeah. And he didn't put out like maybe 2-star matches at the best.
It depended majorly who he was in the ring with, because Orton works that real sports entertainment-y style that is slow and methodical, and for all the new age stuff that Orton does in the ring, he really is a 1980s throwback wrestler with just the pacing and his moveset, and that kind of was kind of what you were getting. There was 1980s style main events. Now he elevated his game big time with AJ Styles, because that's what the great ones do. Styles can make anybody look good in the ring. We've seen that here locally. So it's.
But then he had matches with Nakamura where their styles don't click at all.
Yeah, the SummerSlam match was a train wreck. Yeah. I'll go ahead and say it. That was probably too much of a clash of styles there. So.
And he was kind of taken from the jobber pool and put a world title on.
see, I've kind of overlooked that a little bit, just due to the fact that, you know, I could see what WWE wanted to do with that, and it's business. They gonna do what they gonna do with business. So, but man, the way it was executed and the end result too, the one house show getting canceled, and then the shows they did run over there were kind of, you know, spotty at best for crowds. You know, it was a gamble. That you knew it was going to be a gamble, and you know it didn't pay off. But they can do that on a blue brand and try that, because if Jinder was on Raw and that was a Universal title, oh man, they'd still be looking at the autopsy reports today on it, on why it failed. But it being on SmackDown, they can just kind of brush it under the rug and carry on. Not saying SmackDown's a bad show by any stretch of the imagination. It is the more watchable of the two shows. It just is what it is.
You're calling it the B show again.
I hate that term, but you know, it kind of in some ways is, because you know they're not like, I know it's the 25th anniversary of Raw that's just recently passed, I should say, but there was like zero promotion about you know, any SmackDown talent being on Raw. I would at least have drawn up a storyline to have a SmackDown match or a SmackDown wrestler show up to take on a Raw guy on their big 25th anniversary show, just one-on-one. Maybe
or burn out everyone at the end and just beat up Raw superstars to build up the Rumble.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
Now we get back to, well, we're near the top of Category B. So we got two more left in Category B. The next one is the best wrestling maneuver of the year. I didn't change it from what you've got, so you go ahead and explain what our choice for best wrestling maneuver of the year. Oh, what a maneuver.
Oh, what a maneuver. This is going to be Sheamus's big kick.
That's a change. Okay, so we did change anyway.
I'm joking. It's Destino by Tetsuya Naito.
Naito, yes, Naito's Destino. Yeah, it's a great move. You know, it's not Canadian Destroyer levels flashy, but it does take some athleticism to do, and you know, dude's getting over right now. I think 18 will be a big year for him.
Well, he already called himself bigger than the title last week, so.
Well, he kind of is if he's feuding with Jericho, so that's kind of the thing. So, you know, he's moved into the big spot. I guess now the way New Japan works is whatever match Jericho is in is going to be either part of a semi-main or the main of the evening. So.
Yeah, Jericho kind of has a Brock Lesnar contract, it seems, right now, where he can come into the big shows and do the big match and then go out and then come back a few months later.
That's cool. Yeah. That's the dream, man. He's living the dream. Yeah. And again, year in review 2017, we spoke at length about it. So now the top of Category B, the worst major wrestling show of the year for 2017. Moorhouse, is there any doubt? Bound for Glory 17 by Impact Wrestling was the worst major wrestling show of the year.
It sounds like you really hate Impact Wrestling this year.
I hate the direction they took with it after the direction they took with it in Slammiversary, or at Slammiversary. I've again thought it had so much promise after Slammiversary. You can go back and watch a Nitro's take about it on the channel, and see exactly what was my exact thinking at the time, because that was just after watching it. And then for all of that to happen, and then just, you know, it would have been cool if somebody would have walked out and said, hey, listen, no Bound for Glory this year because we're trying to re-rack everything. But no, they went ahead and did it, and they booked it in such a way that nobody won that night. Not the promotion, not the people, not the fans. Nobody.
10 years ago, we would have been excited to hear, oh, they're doing Bound for Glory in Ottawa?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
That's the thing, too. 10 years ago, yeah, we would have been jumping on an airplane to get over there, to watch this. And now, it's the opposite. People are jumping on airplanes to leave Ottawa to avoid it. So,
I'm going to go with the worst major wrestling show, major keyword. I'm going to go with the event that Vince McMahon just laughed his butt off, and that's Great Balls of Fire.
See, it was a solid card, but a real bad name. Like, I mean, I don't know what the original name was for the card, but I don't understand why they ran with that name. And I hope that on the pay-per-view schedule this year that they change it, I guess we'll find out here
It's a really dumb name.
We'll find out here in a couple of months. So now we're starting to get into category A, which is it's about 24. On the Observer thing, it's 24 questions long. So we're going to try and plow through this. But it opens with Best Major Wrestling Show for 2017. I put down NXT TakeOver Chicago just because of the crowd that night. You had Pete Dunne versus Tyler Bate for the UK title, which was a Match of the Year candidate. You had the split of DIY at the end, which nobody saw coming. You had a great women's match on that card. You had just the solid. It was probably the most solid takeover since the first Brooklyn takeover.
It was a good show. No, absolutely. But there's one show I think that was better, and that's New Japan's flagship, Wrestle Kingdom.
The Wrestle Kingdom 11. Yeah, okay. Well, any match that has that Okada Omega main event, that's it's the thing. So, I mean, it's a very opinion based question, and every fan will tell you differently what they like and what they didn't like. So,
yeah. Yeah, my opinion on Wrestle Kingdom is each match after the last match is better than the last match. So every time a match came out, they're trying to up the last match.
Mm-hmm. All right. Worst television announcer for the year of 2017, Josh Matthews, Impact Wrestling.
He loves himself.
And he calls matches so slow and deliberate. Abyss. The Black Hole Slam. Just like that. Like, it's just very slow and...
You're making fun of the guy. You don't know. He could have a breathing issue or something,
It's just... It's... When you watch wrestling, you don't want to be watching something that's slow and... Nowadays, fans love the kind of the quicker pace, the fast-paced programming. And that goes across the board with all sports, right? So... to have somebody call matches like that, it's tough to not want to nod off in the middle of it. But they played around with it and that stuff. I know that for Slammiversary last year they brought in what's his name? I think it was, I could be wrong, Peter Rosenthal from the MLB Network.
Okay.
Oh, or some. I can't remember exactly who the.
I can find the fact here quickly for you. Slammiversary.
But it was a Jeff Jarrett decision to bring this guy in, and he actually did a really good job because I think it was him and
Don West was there, and Robert Flores.
Robert Flores, that's who it was. Okay, I don't know where I got Rosenthal from, but anyway, Robert Flores is a commentator on the MLB Network, but he's been. They brought him in on the Edge and Christian show a couple of times during the first season of that on the network to give kind of that mainstream rub to WWE, and he's a huge wrestling fan. He talks about it all the time on his Twitter account and everything, and he just happens to work in the MLB. But they brought him in to do play-by-play alongside Don West, and that show was Slammiversary. Like I said, we talked about it earlier. It was a very decent to somewhat very watchable show there, and that was the direction they needed to take. Is okay, bring in some outside voices, some fresh voices that we haven't heard before, and throw it out there. Instead, by the end of the year, we have, at the time of recording, Josh Matthews is a past Impact Grand Champion belt holder.
Yeah. Fun with TNA Impact. Yay.
Before Austin Aries walked out with all the belts, apparently. These are all spoilers, by the way.
Spoilers.
But
these are TV tapings that haven't aired yet.
Exactly. But just you look at them, you just shake your head like, what are they doing? But anyway, that's my pick for worst television announcer of the year.
Mine is a guy who's already been removed from the announce team now, and that's Byron Saxton.
Okay, yeah. Unfortunately, he's still in WWE 2K18 because I just recently picked that game up, as of the day before recording this with you. And he is all over, and it's the thing is that in that game, Cole does a great line, Graves does a great line, Saxon walks out and is like, I like fruit, and it's like, well, thanks for showing up, that's great, you add nothing of value to these matches at all.
Here comes Eric Young down to the ring. Eric Young likes to do puzzles in the spare time.
Yeah. And just the weirdest thing in the world is booking, like, in that game, booking like a match with, like, say, the Rock and Roll Express, which you can get as DLC versus, like DIY or something like that. And you just hear Saxon's like, oh, Robert Gibson, he's a fiery young upstart. And it's like, why are you here? Ugh. Okay, so those are two really good choices. I think the fans can figure out between the two of them, just kind of like, oh, whatever. So.
That line just reminded me of Rumble '97 when Carlos Colon came out and they're like, "This young chipper has a bright future ahead of him."
Oh, that was Gorilla.
Like,
that was Rumble '93. Yeah.
Was it? And he's like 45.
Yeah, this young upstart, Carlos Colon. All right. Best television announcer of the year. I think we're in agreement here. Corey Graves.
Actually, yes. Corey Graves had a great year. He's kind of working his way to becoming the lead guy there.
Yeah. Well, he gets enough TV time, which is great. And you know what? The cool part is it hasn't worn on me yet. He deserves every bit of it, as far as I'm concerned. He's got that real Joe Rogan-esque swagger about him when he talks and that stuff, and he can quip off one-liners like nobody's business. So, and I think the tattoos, the personality, everything like that is fine. Here's a thought: I wouldn't mind seeing, let's bring in a female voice like they were doing with NXT a few years ago and that stuff, with Renee Young coming in and doing the color commentary and that stuff. What's Lita doing? If she wants to come back and do, more full-time work and that stuff, put her on as the third person on Raw or SmackDown.
She could be. I think they were disappointed in her because she wasn't knowledgeable in the product the last time she was there.
I don't think she has to be. That's the thing. It's just, as the third person on that booth, just be the technical analyst with the moves,
Yeah. Yeah, they can experiment with female announcers. I mean, it's the right time is now.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right.
My best television announcer, though, is Don Callis, color commentary for New Japan.
Yep. And this was a rather, I don't want to say later in the year 2017 edition, but this was because Carino was going to WWE as a trainer in a performance center. And so they were trying to figure out something, and there's a great podcast that Jericho did on Talk is Jericho, which is the Wrestle Kingdom 12 preview show,
with Callis,
where they sit down and they analyze the entire move from start to finish, and how New Japan's booking got Don Callis confused with Lance Storm.
That would have been a different program.
Here's a thought: Lance Storm was seriously considered for the color commentary on New Japan World alongside Kevin Kelly. What different world it would have been with Lance Storm as the color commentator instead of Don Callis.
Here comes Okada down to the ring. What do you think, Storm? Okada's going to be a fantastic wrestler. I think this match could be really good.
If I could be serious for a moment, you've been serious all night, Lance. So, but man, between those two, I think they both have the two of the best minds going right now, and two of the best storytelling minds. And these are guys that, I think Callis can be in this industry as long as he wants to be. And he's come back after a long layoff, which is sometimes what we all need. It's just to get away from something for a while and come back. Graves, his career's just starting. He's got, if he plays his cards right, probably another good 10 or 15 years left in him. He's got it. All right, the next one is the Rookie of the Year. My vote is Kairi Sane from NXT, the Mae Young Classic winner for 2017, and the potential woman who will knock Asuka's winning streak off if they book it correctly.
Is she a rookie, though?
I mean, in the sports entertainment aspect, yes. In a major promotion aspect, yes. Wrestling-wise, probably not. But, it's so clouded now that it's hard to tell, right? So just using the clouded guidelines of the year would be Kairi saying, you go across the board, Rookie of the Year could be everybody from, promoter's kid who works for local promotions XYZ in Toledo or something, right? So,
well, I'm going to go with the Velveteen Dream.
Okay.
Because he was a product of WWE development.
Yeah. See, that was the thought pattern I was having. It's like, okay, Rookie of the Year, he's picking somebody from NXT as a standout. So, okay, I got you. So.
And he didn't really have a career before WWE. He went there, he learned how to wrestle. He found a cool gimmick that's kind of Princey, kind of Gold Dusty, and it's working for him.
Okay. Match of the Year, I got Okada versus Omega at Wrestle Kingdom 11. Again, we discussed it in the past.
And I have the Dominion one.
The Dominion one. Either match is a good choice. So, all right. I got to advance the list here. All right, there we go. Okay, best weekly television show. The best weekly television show, my selection was NXT.
As is mine.
Okay, there we go. Most underrated wrestler of the year, I got Aleister Black.
Okay.
Because, the matches he had, like with Velveteen Dream, going back, the four-way that was for the top contendership for Philadelphia was good. And, yeah, just go back and do a Google search on him through the network, and you get a real good taste of what he was about in 2017. So,
yeah, he'll have an interesting battle. Is this going live before TakeOver or after TakeOver?
I'm going to try and get it up this week, so
okay.
Before.
He has a very interesting battle going this Sunday with Adam Cole, or Saturday, I apologize, with Adam Cole that I'm actually looking very forward to.
It'll be a good match for sure. Yeah, Extreme Rules. It'll be really good. Most overrated.
You skipped me, sir.
Oh, did I skip you? I'm sorry. Go for it.
I'm going to go with Shinzei Nakamura.
Ah, okay. Yes.
He's underrated because he's kind of lost in the SmackDown shuffle right now. He was NXT's top star for a year and a half, 2 years, goes to SmackDown, and they don't know how to book Japanese guy.
Well, yeah, that's been the crutch with WWE for years. So it's, that they just need to, hire Gato. That's it. So, most overrated, Eli Drake, because of the Impact Championship. He did nothing for me. It's just, and this whole the dummy thing. I don't get it. I tried last year at this time when he was feuding with EC3 to try to see if there would be anything there, and just they had a good thing going in that storyline with him not being able to speak after the match loss on Impact for 30 days or so. Kind of made him think outside the box a little bit. I enjoyed that, but the whole pairing with Chris Adonis and stuff, it didn't work for me at all. It was just it was too generic. So
he is very forgettable. Yeah. I'm gonna go with Jinder Mahal again. Okay. Rags to riches. I was jobbing to Zack Ryder, and now I'm the world champion.
There we go. All right.
He's already been shuffled back down to just below U.S. title credibility. We'll see if he can hover at that point or if he's going to fall down a little more than that.
Right. Gotcha. Most charismatic. Who has the most charisma? Okay. Moorhouse seems to think he does. Shinsuke Nakamura for me. I think just the whole vibe with the whole Freddie Mercury, Michael Jackson performer hybrid. Just, you don't even have to look at his WWE stuff. Go back and look at some of his Wrestle Kingdom entrances through the years and that stuff back when he was in New Japan. Dude he's got swag as F.
I agree. It's hard to put him in underrated and charismatic at the same time for myself. So I went with Bobby Roode, the guy that the whole crowd sings his song to.
Yeah.
He's just naturally charismatic, and he's finally got a U.S. title push right now. So he's working his way to the main event card right now.
And I will say this: the whole Robe Warriors gimmick him and Charlotte are doing for the Mixed Match Challenge is the only reason why I'm watching the Mixed Match Challenge right now. It's the only reason why I care. I want to see that team win and do well. So.
You don't like Bayley and Elias?
It's cute, but
it's random.
Yeah, the Robe Warriors thing is a little bit better. I kind of dig that because it's like, okay, two aristocratic, white collar champions teaming up. It's it's cool. It's the Horsemen kind of sort of a little bit, So, best on interviews next, right?
Yep, best on interviews.
Okay, best on interviews. I got down Chris Jericho.
I got down Chris Jericho as well.
Okay.
He is a natural talker. He's booked the biggest match in Wrestle Kingdom history just on interviews.
Okay. There we go.
He's had a great feud with Kevin Owens this year, and his interviews were fantastic for that. He's just a natural, and a lot of young guys can learn a lot from Jericho.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. The Alpha Club is a thing, and it is happening. And it's not because I'm wearing the shirt. Actually, it is because I'm wearing the shirt. But anyway.
Mark.
Whatever you say there, Mr. Young Bizzle. All right. Most improved? Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman. Dude improves every year. So I got to say, and he'll probably be champion this time next year. Somewhere.
100% agree. I think there should back the right train in Braun and not Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
I think Roman would be a great anti-hero to Braun Strowman.
I think they're finally starting to realize that because of the crowd pops that Braun is getting. So, Tag Team of the Year. Now, I went a little different route than most people for Tag Team of the Year, and I'm going to explain it a little bit. And I'll try to explain it very quickly. I got down for Tag Team of the Year, and people are going to light me up in the comments for Tag Team of the Year after all the great choices and that stuff. I have down the world's cutest tag team, Joey Ryan and Candice LeRae. Because this 2017 was the last full calendar year that team was a thing because Candice has recently signed with WWE and has moved on. They are so influential in developing the intergender style of tag team and wrestling that we see today. And it's not just a mixed match thing, that it's an actual interaction of talent, whether they be male or female, and it's a whole new style, this intergender thing. And I think it's here to stay, especially on the indies. And, that team is the genesis of it, in my opinion.
They're a great team. I have nothing bad to say, but there's one team that's money, and that's the Young Bucks.
Well, they print money.
They print money, they make money. They sleep in money. They live in money.
However, I'll one up you. Candice LeRae could have something very interesting if WWE allows it. There might be a point where Candice LeRae's NXT merchandise will be in the Hot Topic stores at the same time as her independent merchandise.
That could be cool. You can have before and after.
She would be she would be the first talent under this whole new get your stuff into the mall before anybody else does world that we live in that has had that done. Not the Young Bucks, not Jericho. You know, I guess it depends on which store you go to if there'd be still Jericho stuff kicking around from, you know, before Mania last year. But I'm thinking probably not because the gap is long enough. But
yeah, the last stuff I saw was just Seth Rollins, New Day, and then all the New Japan stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right, feud of the year: Omega and Okada.
Omega Okada, best of 3.
Yeah.
And there's no true winner on that one yet.
No, not yet. No. Box office draw: Brock Lesnar.
Absolutely. He sells T-shirts. He sells tickets. People want to see Brock beat someone.
That's amazing. Still in 2018, that people still want to see him do it. He's just, I guess that's his quality about him. So there we go. Now, most outstanding wrestler. We kept this category in. We were kind of debating whether we were going to cut it for time or not, but we kept it on here just because we have 2 different choices, but I think involving the same wrestlers. And I'll go ahead and mention my pick for Wrestler of the Year here, too, the Lou Thesz Ric Flair Award. Most outstanding wrestler I have down as AJ Styles, and Wrestler of the Year I have down as Kenny Omega, which is an exact opposite, I think, of what you have.
I have most outstanding wrestler Omega, and the Wrestler of the Year Styles.
Yeah. So I think you can't, cut between both of them very much. I mean, like you're correct either way. I think in that scenario, I think because both of them were up for ultimately the match of the year spot that that I gave out to Omega and Okada, but it could have easily have been Cena and Styles from the Rumble last year just as well. I mean, like it's they both, man, you'd love to see that Styles Omega one-on-one match now, wouldn't you?
Someday, I think. My reasoning here, most outstanding wrestler Omega can throw out 5-star matches like I take poops. It just happens. He'll fight Brett, he'll have a 5-star. He'll fight Juice Robinson, he'll have a 5-star. Fight Jericho, he'll have a 5-star. Where AJ Styles can enhance other wrestlers' abilities. Styles has ability to bring Jinder Mahal to a higher level, or Kane to a higher level. Someone who's not great at wrestling, he can just bring the best out of them.
Right. Yeah, well, I don't think that there's much you can choose between both of them that is much different. They both have their qualities, and here's the cool thing. One's in New Japan right now, one's in WWE, so there you go. There is the catalyst for 2018 and where these guys are going to be going. So,
Bullet Club.
Well, hey, Duck Club or Bullet Club, we'll see what happens,
Balor Club,
the
Bailey
Balor
Club.
The Bailey, the Hugger Club.
The Hugger Club.
there are many clubs. There are the Nitro Club, stuff like that. There are many clubs that exist in wrestling. But Moorhouse, thanks a lot. This was actually a real fun idea. This is cool. And kudos to you, sir, for bringing this up.
Oh, thank you for participating.
Right on. I'm Kellen Nitro. Later days. Thank you for watching Nitromaniac TV's wrestling channel. Like, dislike, agree, disagree, comment below. You can tweet Moorhouse at something, because I never tweet myself. The Moorhouse CDN. That's right.
Yeah.
I recognize that because it's kind of similar to the same Twitter account as one of my favorite eating and drinking establishments, which is the Canadian Brew House. So at the Brew House CDN, and you have at the Moorhouse CDN.
Yes.
So there we go. And in the past, at the Moorhouse CDN has been at the Brewhouse CDN. at the same time. So
I've been to the Brewhouse CDN. So
Yeah.
does that mean the Moorhouse CDN drinks at the Brewhouse CDN?
Yes, that's what I was going to say. That's what I'm trying to get at. I'm Kellen Nitro at KELLENNITRO on Twitter, on Instagram, and just hit me up. Any questions, comments, let me know. We also got a Facebook group now for Nitromaniac TV's wrestling channel. You can look at the link at the description below in the video and check it out. But as I said, later days, happy wrestling watching, folks, and we'll see you next time.